Good morning. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bible Study Live with Matt. I'm Matt, and today I'm going to wrestle with what we put our trust in. I was reading a little something this morning that just dug a little bit into trust. Listen, at the end of the day, we're all believing in something. We're all trusting in something. And it's different for many people, right? I mean, there are everyday things we trust, like I trust when I flip the light switch, the lights are going to come on. I trust when I plug our Tesla in, it's going to be charged the next day. I trust when I press the accelerator, my car's going to go. I trust that when I hit the go live button, this is going to hit YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and everywhere that I send it to. So I'm going to be honest and say, I have not studied enough to explain to you how electricity works in my Tesla. I don't know how it works. I've also not studied building and physics enough to explain to you why this chair can hold me well, and why when I push the accelerator, the car moves at a certain speed. I can't explain that stuff to you because I haven't done the research, right? But I choose to trust those things because I want to. And I think in a lot of ways, the majority of our life is similar when it comes to spiritual things. Look, we read history books and we trust that the things in those books are true. We read a math book and trust that the way they teach us how to solve math problems is the right way. We trust it to be true. But for some reason, we struggle when we read things like the Bible, and we struggle with whether or not it's true. And, well, the truth is that makes sense. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's a couple 1,000-year-old book, right? So it can be a little tricky to go, why do I choose to believe this true? What is true? What is there to show me that it's true? Now, there are a lot of people that will say, look, the fact that this book was written over multiple continents by 40 different authors, over such a large period of time, yet the story is cohesive, it's a pretty good indicator that it's true. And I don't really disagree with that. I'm going to tell you, to be honest, I think that's a great indicator of the truth that's in there. But it doesn't mean that people just, should swallow it whole. So anyway, we're going to dig in. We're going to wrestle a little bit with this today. We're going to look at, we're just going to look at what it means, what Jesus said about what's true. And here's the reality. Like every time that I do this, I don't expect you to swallow whole what I'm telling you. My whole goal with doing Bible Study Live is to create conversation without condemnation. It's to encourage you to do like what we talked about yesterday. So yesterday we were digging into the Samaritan woman, and she had this encounter with Jesus, and she went to the town, and she didn't go and tell people, you must believe this. She said, hey, come and meet this guy who told me everything I've ever done. Could he possibly be the Messiah? That was the approach she took. She wasn't batting people over the head. She wasn't saying, listen, if you don't come and realize who he is, you're in deep trouble. She wasn't saying, hey, you better come get to know the Messiah or you're going to burn in a fiery hell. That wasn't her message. Her message was in line with what Jesus called Christ followers to do, which was to make disciples, and disciples are learners. So her message was, hey, come and see for yourself what he says and decide if he's Messiah. And so my hope with digging in this stuff with you guys is that you'll do the same, that you'll go open up your Bible and or open up a Bible. You can get one online. They're like totally free with the Bible app. But my hope is that you'll open one up, you'll wrestle with it yourself, and then you'll just decide. You'll make your own decision. I believe anybody who really reads Jesus' words will see that what he said was a better way of life. What he promised is something that, gosh, I can't see why we wouldn't want it. So anyways, today we're going to dig in and read John chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14. I'm reading from the Message translation because I want to, and it's a good one. So this is Jesus speaking. So let's pick up on verse 1. It says, "Don't let this rattle you. You trust God, don't you? Trust me." Now, we're going to pause right there because some of you might be going, wait a minute, no, I don't trust God. I don't know that God exists. Okay, well, it makes more sense to talk about who he's talking to. So he's speaking to his followers. He's speaking to people who already say, hey, I believe in God. But they've still got questions about things. And so that's who his audience is. So just know that going into this. So in verse 1, Jesus says to his followers, he says, don't let this rattle you. You trust God, don't you? Trust me. He says, there's plenty of room for you in my Father's house. If that weren't so, would I have told you that I'm on my way to get a room ready for you? And if I'm on my way to get your room ready, I'll come back and get you so you can live where I live. And you already know the road I'm taking. And if you can hear some background noise, that's our dogs who, for some reason, sound like they're, I don't know, jumping in a swimming pool when they drink water because they're big and sloppy dogs. Anyways, verse 5. Thomas said, Master, we have no idea where you're going. How do you expect us to know the road? Jesus said, I am the road, also the truth, also the life. Other translations say, I'm the way, the truth, and life. I'm the road, also the truth, also the life. No one gets to the Father apart from me. If you really knew me, you'd know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him. You've even seen him. Philip said, Master, show us the Father, then we'll be content. You've been with me all this time, Philip, and you still don't understand? To see me is to see the Father. So how can you ask, where's the Father? Don't you believe that I'm in the Father and the Father's in me? The words I speak to you aren't mere words. I don't just make them up on my own. The Father who resides in me crafts each word into a divine act. Believe me, I am in my Father and my Father is in me. If you can't believe that, believe what you see, these works. The person who trusts me will not only do what I'm doing, but even greater things. Because I, on my way to the Father, am giving you the same work to do that I've been doing. You can count on it. From now on, whatever you request along the lines of who I am and what I'm doing, I'll do it. That's how the Father will be seen for who he is in the Son. I mean it. Whatever you request in this way, I'll do. Man, that's a lot to digest, isn't it? But let's just jump right to the beginning, right to the very beginning of it. And I just want to make sure, by the way, that this is sharing out properly because it looked like it had frozen on the screen for a minute. So give me just a sec. I just want to double check, make sure that, okay, cool, it's working. So let's just kind of start at the beginning. When Jesus starts out this conversation, he says, you trust God, don't you? Trust me. And then he goes on to say, listen, there's a place for you in what I'm doing and in where I'm going. I think one of the coolest things that when I read this, listen, as somebody who I've got my ordination 15 years ago, I've walked with God and I've fallen on my head and not walked with him. But I'm going to just be honest and tell you, not all of this is easy to swallow. It's hard. It's challenging to try and really get a grasp on some of these things that Jesus talked about and some of these concepts. And sometimes, sometimes in the Christian culture, it seems as though the church will shame you for not just blindly swallowing things. Sometimes when you admit that there's confusion and challenges and some things are hard to understand, we get this impression that if I say that out loud, I must not be Christian. Or if I say that out loud, I'm not really somebody who believes in Jesus or follows Jesus, and maybe then I'll go to hell, so I better not say it out loud. Well, if we stop to think about the logic behind that, it's silly. I mean, if God can hear what we think anyway, then there's no reason to not say it out loud. He already knows, right? But the second thing is, if God is who he says he is, it would be stupid for me to think that he's going to get mad when I have questions. And the proof of that is to look at Jesus' interaction with his followers. I mean, these guys saw the miracles that he did, and they still didn't get it. But he didn't say, you guys are going to hell, you're stupid. What did he say? Hey, listen, trust me. I'm going to prepare a way for you. Trust what your eyes have seen. These guys literally got to see people healed of diseases. They got to see people who were possessed get their minds made right. And whether or not you believe in that supernatural stuff, which I do, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, no, they weren't demon possessed. It was mental illness. Okay, well, then they got to see people with mental illness made whole. And Jesus said to him, look, he flat out said, trust the acts you've seen. I mean, that's crazy. And even his own followers who walked with him and saw miracles still even said to him, show us something. Like Philip says in John 14, verse 8, he says, Master, show us the Father, and then we'll be content. What is he saying to Jesus? He's going, I'm not content with what you're telling me. Hold the phone. Like, how many times have we in church heard, like, to question and say, I don't know that I get that, or I don't know that I believe that. Oh, that's blasphemy. Well, Philip literally said to Jesus in John 14, verse 8, show us the Father and then we'll be content. Which by default, he is saying to Jesus, I'm not content with what you're saying to me. Now, here's the crazy thing. Jesus does address it immediately, but he doesn't say, you're an idiot, you're going to hell. That's blasphemy. What does he say? When we read this, a lot depends on who we think Jesus is, the character of who he is, and whether or not he truly loves his followers. So we can read this in an angry, mean, mad tone, or we can read it in a tone of love and convincing. Verse 9, the way I read it, when Jesus is responding to Philip, he says, you've been with me all this time, Philip, and you still don't understand? To see me is to see the Father. So how can you ask, where is the Father? Don't you believe that I'm in the Father and the Father's in me? The words that I speak to you aren't mere words. I don't just make them up on my own. The Father who resides in me crafts each word into a divine act. See, when Jesus' own disciple said, well, show us God and then we'll be content, Jesus doesn't rebuke him. He doesn't angrily respond to him. He just says, you've been with me this time and you're still not getting it. When I read that, there's comfort, because those of us now who are choosing to follow Jesus, we didn't get to see the miracles. We didn't get to see him walk on water. We didn't get to see him tell the waves, quiet down, and make a sea turn into glass. We didn't get to see Jesus touch somebody who had leprosy and just watch their skin go back to normal. We didn't get to see Jesus, a woman touch the tzitzit, the tassels on his robe. We didn't get to see a woman touch that and her hemorrhaging just come to a stop. We didn't get to see any of it. We didn't get to see him raise Lazarus from the dead. We got to see none of it. Yet the people who did still struggled on their journey and still wrestled with it and still said, wait, can you just show us one more sign? Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because here's the thing. Even those who saw it, Jesus was trying to remind them, you just have to choose to believe. You choose to believe. It seems so silly and simple to say that sentence. And, some people argue, no, it's not a choice. It's not a choice. You only have your belief if God chooses for you to choose to believe. Well, that makes you a robot. And that to me sounds like the stupidest thing in the whole wide world. God gave us free will for a reason, so that we could choose to live life in a specific way. See, a loving parent is going to guide their children, is gonna help their kids see value in the decisions they make. A loving parent's gonna help our children understand the consequences of our decision, the good ones and the bad ones. Like, hey, if you run up credit card debt, you're going to be maxed out and you're going to make it really hard because you're going to struggle financially because you're so tapped out with debt. You're going to be a slave to your job, right? That's a good advice from a parent. Hey, I love you. Live within your means. Live within your means. Make smart financial decisions, right? That's good advice. And you tell your kids, look, if you make good financial decisions, you'll be able to set your family up for success, things like that. If you make bad ones, you're going to go through a real hard time. You're going to struggle, right? That's what a good parent does. We try and guide our children down the path, but we don't make their decisions for them. When they're babies and they can't make decisions, we do. But once they get an understanding of life, we just hope that what we've taught them sticks. And we hope that we taught them right. Often the Bible talks about God as the Father. Even Jesus in the passages we just read talks about the Father, God the Father. The Bible uses that metaphor all the time with God because it runs with the assumption that we're going to believe a father figure is a good thing. And maybe that's why we have such a hard time trusting God now. Because many of us had fathers that sucked. It's just fact. Or even if we had good ones, they weren't perfect and we saw their flaws. And we don't trust our parents' decisions in every aspect of our lives. So it makes sense that sometimes it's hard to just choose to trust that God has our best interest in mind and that he would guide us in the right direction. And so here's what I'm going to end with as I wrap up this Bible study live today. Jesus didn't get mad and tell his followers they were idiots for not getting it right away. He didn't say, wait a minute, you don't trust me, you morons? Well, then all of you can go to hell. He didn't say that at all. That'd be like the worst. That would be like the worst response in the world. But for some reason, the church loves to do that. Wait, you don't believe all this? Well, then you're going to spend eternity in a lake of napalm. That is not what Jesus taught. And we see him right here with his followers, with one of them going, well, show us the Father, then we'll be content. We see Philip saying basically, I'm not content with what you're saying, so do another miracle for me. Miracles on demand, show me God, and then we'll be content. And Jesus goes, man, you've been walking with me, you still don't get it? Friends, we have a book, and we're reading and we're trying to understand it. We have story after story of human beings trying their best and failing. We have story after story of human beings not trying at all and reaping the consequences. But we have story after story of Jesus trying to explain to people, look, there's a simple path. Love God, love others. That's the path. But in order to follow that path, it starts with we have to make a choice to go, do I want to believe God is who he says he is? Do I want to? If we really sit down and think of all the other choices that we make in life, the other choices that we don't have any knowledge of or all the study of, right? Like I choose to believe in gravity and that I'm not going to float away. I choose to believe that my car's going to go when I hit the gas. I choose to believe my lights are going to turn on. Those seem like simple choices. Why do they seem simple? Imagine when electricity first came into existence and somebody said, hey, when you push that switch, this whole room's going to illuminate. I bet that experience for the first time somebody saw that was mind-blowing. See, we take it for granted today. Imagine when somebody said, when you get in this big thing with wheels and you push this thing, it's going to move just like a horse does. Somebody was probably blown away. But we take it for granted because it's been around forever, right? Now we know if I push the pedal on the right, it goes. That's what it's supposed to do. So that being said, there are things that are easy to us to believe and buy into that weren't always for other people. And I think we need to also approach the scriptures that way too. And remember that we're reading ancient literature about a God who loves us and redeems and renews all things at the end and restores humanity. And we're reading about Jesus, who even his own followers struggled with recognizing who he was. As a matter of fact, when Peter, the story of Peter walking on water, when Jesus pulls Peter up and they get in the boat, it then says that those in the boat worshiped him. which means up until that point, they didn't worship him. They didn't realize who he was. And even here in John 14, Philip going, show us God, then we'll believe. It should bring you comfort, friends. On the days that you struggle and go, I just don't know for sure that I get it. I just don't know for sure that I believe, really. I'm struggling with this idea. When you have those moments of doubt and struggle, the enemy's going to want to make you believe that God is mad at you about the struggle. The enemy's going to want to make you believe that if you're struggling with that, you must not really trust God. So get ready for a lake of fire. Get ready for a swimming pool full of flames. That wasn't the approach Jesus took, and I think it's a really stupid approach for us to take as people who call ourselves Christ followers, Christians, whatever label you want to put on yourself. If we're trying to follow Jesus, I think we should also follow the way that he handled situations of doubt. And he handled it appropriately based on the situation and what the person claimed to know and believe. The beautiful thing about Jesus' followers was, in spite of all their mistakes, they were honest with Jesus about where they stood and what they got and didn't get. We see the harshest rebukes come from Jesus to the religious leaders who felt like they had it all together. The ones that said, we know it all about God. Jesus was like, no, you don't. Let me show you how you don't. For you and I want to encourage you and give you some hope here. On the days that you struggle, be honest with Jesus. Be honest with God. God, I'm having a hard time believing in you today. God, my friend got diagnosed with cancer. And my friend's a good, loving person who's generous and kind and takes care of people. I'm struggling to believe that you're good today, God. Remind me. Help me to believe. Just be honest with God. Sometimes you'll hear from him, and sometimes you won't. But that's the crazy thing. Today in 2021, one thing is no different than it was thousands of years ago. We still have free will, and just like Jesus was encouraging his guys, hey, make the choice to believe I am who I say I am. He's still saying the same thing now. Hey, I know you're struggling. I know you've seen some crazy cool things you can't explain. I know you've seen some really hard things that make you wonder. But I just want to encourage you. Take the risk. Choose to trust. That's it. That's it. And he didn't call you and I to go condemn people, beat them over the head, or force them or scare them into belief. He called his followers, his disciples, to make disciples. He said, hey, go make more learners. Go invite more people on this journey to learn who I am so they can choose for themselves. That's why he didn't say, go and force people to follow me. Why would he say, go and get people to learn? So that they can make a choice. Every day we have a choice of what we believe in. Can I encourage you? Become a learner of who Jesus was and is. Study his words in the book of John, the book of Matthew, two eyewitness dudes that walked with him. Become a learner and then make a choice. Sometimes we get it backwards in the Christian church. We hear like this, we always hear these little, I don't want to minimize it, but I'm going to minimize it. I guess I do want to minimize it because I'm about to. We hear these altar calls, right? Make the choice. You make the choice first. Make the choice to follow Jesus and then start living a life like this. Or make the choice to believe, right? Give your heart to God and then you're going to all of a sudden believe. We hear these altar calls and we think all of a sudden some magic's going to happen. And we're never going to have a doubt again. We're never going to struggle again. But that's not really how it works. It starts with going, I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose to believe he is who he said he is. I'm going to choose to start living the way that he called me to live. I'm going to choose to follow. See, the choice comes first, right? It's not I don't know why we say like I'm going to accept Jesus. Really, what that really means is I'm going to choose to believe he is who he said he was. And when we make that choice, It's not like all of a sudden everything gets fixed and we have no doubts or no questions. It's really a choice to begin the journey with him. That's what it is. So, choose. Choose to learn about him. There you go. Not rocket science, my friends, but it's just about as complicated to understand, which is why we can't read a couple thousand-year-old Jewish literature and Greek literature through the lens of 2021 and the way that we understand stuff. We have to really dig deep to understand text and context, which is why Jesus said, basically, we're never going to get it all the way. So he said, here, greatest command's this. Just love God with everything you got. Number 2, which is really close to that, love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. Everything else fall into line if you just do those 2 things. So choose to get to know who Jesus is. I hope you make the choice to follow him. And then choose to live how he said to live. And accept the fact that you'll never be perfect. Because if you could be, he wouldn't have needed to come anyway. There you go. There's Bible Study Live today. Today's Wednesday? Yeah. So I'll see you tomorrow, Thursday, somewhere between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. Live again. If you liked it, please share it. Drop a comment, say hi, etc., etc., etc. Last but not least, after the first of the year, House Church kicks off. If you want to know more, text the word church to 833-981-0002. You won't be sold stuff. It's 100% free. But what we will text you is a link to an informational meeting so that when we roll stuff out, you can take a look, see what we believe, see what we're all about, and see what House Church is about. But in a nutshell, we're about breaking the big down to the small so that people can create conversation without condemnation in their homes with their friends, to wrestle with all this stuff without anybody saying, ew, gross, you're a heretic. We're going to provide 5 to 15 minute scriptural teachings and little Q&A stuff to go with it to lead some conversation. Whole idea is to bring some friends, family, neighbors, whatever, get together, have a meal, wrestle with God stuff. And that's it. We're going to do it every week. If you're interested, you don't have to do it every week. Maybe you can't. Maybe you could do it once a month. Maybe you do it twice a month, whatever. But we think it'll be a great way to bring people together and grow closer and learn more about who Jesus is. And that's what our focus is going to be on when we kick it off. We're really going to wrestle with starting right with Jesus, because everybody before him was pointing to him. Everybody afterwards was pointing back to him, and he was the only one that ever got it all right. So it seems like he's the best place to start. So there you go. Thanks again for tuning in, you guys. Appreciate you. Love y'all. And now go out there and be salt and light in the world. Make your day and hopefully somebody else.